Morning. Okay, so yesterday we opened up the boat again, and the new piece bent perfectly into perfect shape, really well, and we were just wiring up the chines, and there was a slight creaking noise which sounded a bit wrong. Well, there were lots of creaking noises, but mainly tinkling, which is the sound of the wires pulling and stretching. But then there was also a kind of slight crackling, wood splitting sound of noise. And thankfully, it wasn't any wood splitting, but what it was the glass tape on the opposite side bending. So what happened was, these are the two pieces of, so that's the starboard side of the boat, and that's the starboard side floor, and they're currently fitted together in a vertical pattern. And they're fiberglassed over to hold it in position. And what happens is the bottom has to turn into that position. And as you get further aft, that becomes more pronounced. So as you come forward, it comes to pretty much vertical, right at the bow. And the tape is holding those pieces vertical. And what happened was the tape just cracked slightly or split. And it's just gone into a little V like this. Very subtle V. So I suppose to be a complete purist, what I should do is just take all of the chine ties out again and get the boat back vertical, lay it down, take all the keel ties out, separate the two halves, which is going to involve putting the battens fully back on again, and then re-glass, re-tape the bow so it's perfectly flat. Then reassemble it all. So that is an awful lot of work, and it's going backwards again, and it's going to be the second time. So what I've done overnight is I've got the boat into a fairly vertical position, so the angle at the bow has got the least amount of stress on it. It's almost vertical, and I've managed to pull it and squeeze it together using four small pads, and pulling the ties at the bow quite tight. And then I've glassed over a small section, about 3 inches, overnight, and let that go hard. So that's all set now. So my plan for today is to drill a hole through that section and move a pad into there, and then I can glass tape up the front section of that area. And it's probably going to make sense for me to show you what I mean. So here at the bow you can see that this section should actually be purely vertical with no bend in it at all, but it's actually bent through about, I think, approximately 15 degrees here. And to get it completely flat would involve taking the boat apart again. And having done that once, my patience to do this again is wearing thin. So what I've done is I've just glassed in a new piece here. So that's about 3 inches. And what I'm going to do this morning is move one of these pads to this position and then glass up this remaining 4-inch section. And hopefully we won't notice it so much when it's finished. So looking from the front, it's completely flat with a slight curve on that side, and on this side there's a tiny bit of a bend. And looking at the front there, it's hardly noticeable, but we'll see how that goes. So looking from the inside, you can see the 4 pads here trying to pull this into a vertical shape, and then a little bit of glass on the inside as well. So that's the plan for this morning, and then we'll leave that overnight and then try again tomorrow to open her up again. So while I had the epoxy mixed, I also put on these. These are that's 75 mils, so these are 150 mils across, so double the size of the join. So this is what the guys at B&B Yacht Design said I needed to do, because the join by itself would be a bit brittle. So I glassed those overnight, and that's now gone off, so that's pretty good. I also have to trim these with the sander,
I haven't done the bottom because I'm going to glass the whole of the bottom once the boat's finished, or as it's approaching finishing. I'm going to glass the whole of the bottom, so that's when that will get done. Okay, so on to time lapse.
Okay, so I think that's about as good as it's going to get. It's holding it well so far. I've glassed another 3-inch piece of tape onto the inside and outside, and I've managed to get the boat even more vertical than it was, take any pressure off that join. So let's just leave that overnight, and tomorrow the plan is that I will just take all those clamps of wood off, well, apart from maybe one, which is what we're supposed to have on there, and then we'll try and wire up the chines again, and hopefully we'll be back to having a boat. Fingers crossed. See you tomorrow.
Hi, just taking a brief tea break, so chance to give you an update on what's going on. So so far we've wired up the chines a little bit further. We've taken off okay, so time for a quick tea break and chance for an update. So what I did earlier on was to jack up the wings, as it were, of the butterfly section on the 2 pieces of rough sawn timber that I have. So these were holding the weight of the wings and holding them up. The idea being that with the wings high, I could push the boat in, thereby reducing the pressure on the bow and reducing the curvature that the bow needed to sit in. And in that way I could glass up re-glass the starboard side, which had cracked slightly. The actual fiberglass itself, I think, had just cracked slightly, and so it formed a slight V shape. So it was still held together, but it had gone into a V instead of being completely straight. So if I had tried to get the boat into its proper shape from that point, I think it would have just cracked further and gone into more of a V shape. So rather than do that, and rather than take the whole thing apart again, I decided just to glass up, get that section as straight as possible and glass it. And so that's what's been happening for the last couple of days. So overnight, last night, and overnight the night before, the glass tape was drying. I couldn't do it all in one go because I needed to put some pads in there to squeeze the pieces of wood back into shape. So the V section was like this, and when I put the pads on and pulled them tight, it pulled it slightly more vertical. So I brought it as vertical as I could before I glassed half of it. Then I moved the pads forward onto the glass part, and then glassed the bit that wasn't glassed. So now, I'm trying to open the boat up again. And so I've got the kettle underneath providing some steam to just hopefully give the wood a little bit more flexibility, and I've got a damp towel on the inside, hot damp towel, providing some hot dampness there. So hopefully that's just giving the wood a nice little bit of assistance to bend, and I'm just trying to do it really, really slowly. And another point as well, which I realised after reading the instructions again, for the umpteenth time, I don't know how I missed it the first time or second time I read, was that you need to put in the nesting bulkheads before you completely wire up the chines. previously I wired up the chines and then tried to put the bulkhead in, and it was difficult because they wouldn't quite fit. So I think, and by putting the bulkheads in, it actually forces the bottom down almost flat at this point. So at the moment there's quite a bit of a V in here at this point where where the bulkheads are going to go. And what I've done is I've cut a piece of timber to the exact size of half of the nesting bulkhead, so I can see what it'll look like when it goes in. So from the centre line to here, that's where the nesting bulkhead would fit, and the angle's not so bad as well, so I think it would actually fit in there. Although I think they're probably sitting at that kind of angle, so it's going to push this out and push this down. So I'm a bit reluctant to do that straight away till the boats have time to sit, but I can probably mark out where they're going to go. So that's what this is for. So I'm sticking it very slowly and cautiously. So these are the nesting bulkheads. There's two of them, and they're just stuck together with regular glue and cardboard in between to form a slight gap. The gap has gone in some places, so I'm going to have to force that apart with something, some spacers. The idea is that you get the saw in between these two and cut the thing in half once it's all glassed into place. So this section needs to go in somewhere forward of there. As you can see, that bottom panel's still got a long way to go down for that to get into position. So that is a lot more still to go. But I'm very reluctant to push it down just yet. I don't want the bow section to split again. So it's just a question of being patient and trying it. So it's, once again, the stern section is resting on two toilet rolls that they form a really good support because they're soft enough to conform to the shape of the actual floor panels, the angle of the floor panels, provide some support, and they don't move. So I'll just move that another few millimetres on this one. Just move that another few more millimetres, and then that just relaxes. You can hear it chinking, it just relaxes into place. A few millimetres at a time. It's a very, very slow process. But it is going slowly and surely. Okay, so I'm going to have to leave it there today. So the point I've got to is that the chines are wired pretty much to the area where the nesting bulkheads are going to go. I marked those in now in pencil using this template, which is exactly half the section of the nesting bulkheads. And I may have to undo the wire immediately in front of that to fit it, but at the moment the boat needs to settle down more, and I'm very reluctant, for obvious reasons, to push this down and risk any kind of problems going on at the bow again, having had that twice now. So what I've done is I've got the nesting bulkhead sitting across the floor panels here, resting on two toilet rolls, and that's just encouraging the boat to take its shape. If I take those off, it springs back into, so there's still some tension in the bow pulling it back up. So if I leave that there for a few days, next when I come back, hopefully that will be in a position where it will quite happily compress down another few inches, and I'll better get that nesting bulkhead in position. But I just don't want to risk it right now. So I've actually dampened the port floor panel here to make sure there's no strain on this scarf joint. Because I did sand it lightly, so I'm a bit worried that might reduce its strength. It's not going to add to its strength for sure. So I've just wet that out slightly to give it a little bit of help to twist. And I'm going to put one more hot steaming kettle underneath the bow area to use that. A bit of steam to encourage it to twist. And then I'm going to leave it like this. So when I come back, the next job will be to get that bulkhead in place and screwed down. So maybe it wasn't a bad thing I had all those problems, because the nesting bulkhead was in the wrong place, it was too far back. I would never have got the bow section into the stern section. Maybe I would have measured it, maybe I'd have pushed on. If I'd have pushed on, that would have been a disaster, because it would have all been the wrong size. So maybe it was a blessing in disguise. So count your chickens. Alright, see you next time.